Since time immemorial, the traditional approach has been to arrest and detain, and then incarcerate guilty defendants through due legal process. The query is this: should this be the only approach to counter corporate crime? The purpose of this video is to remodel Bangladesh's legal arsenal, to discuss more forward-looking and beneficial options. In light of recent bank loan scandals, why Bangladesh needs deferred prosecution agreements. Before we embark on a little discussion, it is essential, almost fundamental, to understand the key objectives and rationale behind any criminal justice system. For long, the lion's share has been set aside for incapacitation, to isolate the convicted individual from the rest of the society. The punishments ought to serve as deterrents and is a form of retributive justice to console the families or the victims of those who have been wronged. Increasingly, rehabilitation has gained some momentum, transforming individuals to forego their criminal shells and start afresh with a new set of productive skills. Lastly, one that usually falls short of valuable consideration, restoration talks about the pre-crime state. If it's money embezzled, how to get the money back. If it's money laundered, how to immediately confiscate it. The banking sector alongside financial institutions have played a central role in the advent of financial crime. The usual landscape of dacoits or bank robbers were a prominent scene in early Bengal. However, in recent times, this sort of offending in particular has become a sort of rarity. That is not to say it never happens. In fact, on 21st April 2015, a gang of robbers stole approximately 7 lakh taka from the Ashulia branch of the Bangladesh Commercial Bank. More common than these daylight robberies are the different types of fraudulent activities within formal institutions. To contrast the gravity of corporate crimes, let's take the example of the Hallmark scandal, one that is closely associated with Sonali Bank and its agents. On October 7, 2013, the Anti-Corruption Commission pressed charges against 25 people in 11 cases for swindling over Taka 2600 crore out of Sonali Bank. More recently, the basic bank loan scam has been creating noise throughout the country. With shock and confusion in the air, these are the facts. The Anti-Corruption Commission opened an investigation into the state-run basic bank after allegations that Taka 35 billion in loans had been illegally disbursed from various branches. After about 4 years of investigation, the Anti-Corruption Commission started 56 cases at 3 police stations in Dhaka, accusing nearly 156 individuals. Mr. Mahmood, managing director of Hallmark Group, was sentenced and jailed recently. Former directors of Basic Bank are also on the tightrope, being questioned, interrogated, and will undoubtedly soon face trial. However, they're only in this position because we've been able to put a face to the action. By nature, financial or white-collar criminals are more elusive and influential than their other counterparts. They operate within formal structures and are able to manipulate procedures, doctor documents, and exercise control over their organizations. It becomes a game of cat and mouse to find traces of their criminality. The evidential burden is hard to satisfy, taking up years of investigation and pooled resources of several government bodies and private individuals. In the coming years, more complex frauds are expected to arise, the type of which may leave many in the courtroom confused and perplexed. Admittedly, the Anti-Corruption Commission has become the forefront against such misconduct, and their skill and expertise in this matter is second to none. However, the state police, whether it be the detective branch or financial intelligence unit, will have to take up years to put together a formidable case. No doubt they may do so sooner. However, even then there is no guarantee that there will be a successful prosecution. Bangladesh lacks a codified sentencing guideline, giving honorable judges absolute discretion on how they choose to sentence. It could be life imprisonment, or it could be 5 years, or even just a year for that matter. Let's assume we are able to pinpoint, identify, and prosecute all these individuals. The higher capacity of the combined prison systems in Bangladesh stands at nearly 50,000. Up until 2015, as reported by Daily Star, the figure stood at more than 75,000. In an already congested prison system with questionable living conditions, other alternatives need to be sought out or at least considered. It's time to re-evaluate our position on how we criminalize and punish, giving fair proportions to each of the objectives. Turning on the objective of restoration, the state is having to pour more resources into maintaining these criminals, rather than swiftly recovering the thousands of crores in stolen assets. With a key focus on recovering assets and successfully combating financial crime, deferred prosecution agreements have been used in the United States against individuals since 2013 and have been in practice against corporations for more than 20 years. Recently, DPAs formally took effect in the United Kingdom against corporations. Put simply, it is an agreement between the prosecution and the defendant with some judicial supervision, whereby the prosecuting authority defers prosecution, sometimes indefinitely, upon the defendant agreeing and subsequently complying with the strict terms and conditions of the DPA. What it creates is certainty. The terms of the DPA may be an admission to the offense, immediate payment of financial penalty within the stated time limits, compensation to victims, disgorgement of profits to prevent unjust enrichment, cooperation with investigations to give up the larger target, putting in place remedial actions and compliance programs. DPAs allow us to return back to the pre-crime state. The recovered assets can be reinvested into infrastructure, power projects and other ambitions of the government, or simply return back to the legitimate financial market. DPAs also save face. Both Sonali and Basic Bank are state-owned banks. By swiftly recouping the assets, it doesn't only look good on policy, it also shows a capable state and an effective prosecuting system. On an ending note, not only does the prosecution have flexibility in making their terms, if the offender fails to abide by them, then the simple recourse is to just put incarceration back on the table. DPAs are simply one of the few new tricks that the state should have in its bag.